I'm Martin Chavez, and it is my great honor and pleasure to introduce Lord John Browne. Lord John Browne is our speaker this afternoon, and he's had an amazing career. Actually, Lord Browne asked me to give you the short form and just say that he's a Goldman Sachs alumnus, and that is accurate, but it's a small part of the story. He was at British Petroleum BP for 41 years, served as CEO from 95 to 2007. He's served on a number of boards, as I mentioned, our own, where he's also chair of the audit committee. He was knighted in 98, made a life peer in 2001. He's the author of 2 books, The 7 Elements, and then The Glass Closet. It's fascinating. I recommend it to all of you about bringing all of yourself to work, a subject that's dear to my heart. Also, I would like to connect what we're doing this afternoon with our Energy Summit, where we had energy ministers and treasury and finance ministers from all over North America, Canada, US, and Mexico. And it's very much on our minds and was certainly something that got carried in the news. And I'll also ask Lord Browne to bring a global perspective. So we've got so much to cover, so let's just jump right in. The topic of clean energy, what does it mean? What are our governments doing? Are they doing enough? How do you think about it?
Well, let me say first, good afternoon. It's very good to be here. But I think the big point about clean energy is it requires new technologies. And new technologies require 2 things. They need good ideas and a very large amount of money. And the 2 things need to go hand in hand. Solar and wind, the 2 big clean energies that we have available to us at the moment, are developing fine. They're reducing in cost. They're going through the learning curve that you'd expect any sort of newish technology to undergo. But there's much more to it than that. So it needs, I think, a lot of upfront work still in terms of investing in the technology. And I'm not talking about investing in the subsidies to deploy the technology, but the investment in the technology itself. Solar power, for example, has come down around about 80% in cost. There's no reason why it can't come down another 80% with the right approach. And this cost is coming down as a result of technology and learning, manufacturing process. The same is true with wind, the same is true with biomass. There's a lot of things that can be done. So these, I think, are interesting and progressive points that will begin on the margin to change the energy mix, provided we get the cost down. And that comes with technology.
In our North American Energy Summit, we talked a great deal about policy in North America. The global challenges, are they the same as in North America? If not, how are they distinct?
No, they are the same because the world is completely linked when it comes to energy markets. Sometimes the coupling is weak, sometimes very, very strong. So deep and wide markets which have lasted for a very long time with oil, with certain imperfections, are very different from the markets to do with natural gas and wood, for example. So every issue is linked around the world. And I think everyone is struggling on several points. One is the cost. How do you maintain a sensible relationship between consumption cost and GDP growth? How do you actually maintain that, primarily through looking for lower cost sources, inherently cheaper sources of energy, which there are very few left, and again, technology. Secondly, how do you diversify sources to maintain a sense of security? And the third then is clean. How do we make it cleaner? And the vexed question of the use of coal, in particular in places where it is the cheapest form of energy, notably China. These, I think, are all the same issues. Overlaid with that, I think, in the, what you might call the heavily developed world, is the challenge of how do you get people to think about a national objective when it impinges on their local sense of well-being? So this is the problem with fracking. So it is about that. I mean, it's dressed up with lots of different ways of thinking. It's about techniques to do with preserving the environment. Can we frack in small stages without creating earth tremors, how do we deal with effluent water, all these sorts of things. But actually it's about the balance of national objectives and local interests. And that's a tough one to square. People have to see it, and it's not, I think, just about the pocketbook. So it's complicated. As everybody knows, the increase in production in the United States of oil has exactly offset all the oil shut in Libya, Iran, and other places in the world. So it's been a zero-sum game, but it's changed the risk profile hugely in the world. But what can be done here, and the resistance to what can be done, now has to be translated into Europe, the other part of the highly developed world, where there are opportunities to change the way energy supply is developed. But all the bad news from the United States travels far faster than the good news. It always does. Everybody knows about rigs in people's backyards. Everybody knows about earth tremors. Nobody knows about the fact that it's increasing GDP by 0.5% a year. Nobody knows that it's been reducing the balance of payments significantly. People forget the hundreds of thousands of jobs. And we have to now balance those messages to see if Europe can, in the face of potentially some threats to its energy security from Russia, do the right thing and change its risk profile when it comes to energy. But I think overall the challenges are the same, the solutions are slightly different.
So in your book, there are many themes that are continuous through the book, and one of them is personal accountability in corporate culture. And one of the many themes that resonated with me is that, yes, we're working on changing our corporate culture, and that's essential, but then each of us has a role to play in how we see ourselves and how we operate within the system, how we change the system to make it better. What are some of your thoughts on accountability, authenticity?
Well, it's of course a very, very high challenge. It's easy to say and very difficult to do in an institutional structure, because everybody does, to an extent, modify their behavior according to their role in that structure. And so I think it's easy to talk about, but very difficult to implement. Now, my book is about a small piece of that, which is about, and I think a very tough particular test, which is, can people be open about their sexuality in business? And I mean in business. I don't mean in the theatre, in sport, in business. Business generally very conservative and has certain norms established a long time ago. So, for example, when I joined business, when I first came into business, I think a room like this would have no women in it, and we would all be men, and the women would be in something which used to be called, most people here would never remember these things, the typing pool. And people thought that was absolutely normal, absolutely normal. And this was in the 60s. And slowly things changed. They haven't changed enough, but gender became a very important matter to both get the best talent in an organization and to get fairness into an organization and to get respect into an organization. So progress was being made. It's faltering, it's not right. There are plenty of places in the world where there just aren't enough senior women in C-suite jobs. I mean, for example, in the UK, I think it's only about 7% of C-suites are women, whereas actually 15% of boards are women. So there's an issue brewing at that level.